Here's something that has completely changed how countless gardeners approach soil health. After years of synthetic fertilizers and watching plants struggle with pests and diseases, many have discovered Korean natural farming. Specifically, the powerful combination of three simple inputs that work together like nature's own symphony: fermented plant juice, indigenous microorganisms, and oriental herbal nutrient. This trio doesn't just improve gardens, it transforms entire understanding of what healthy soil can become. Understanding the three pillars of soil transformation. Korean natural farming operates on a beautiful principle: work with nature, not against it. Each component of this trio serves a specific purpose, but when combined, they create a regenerative system that mirrors what happens in undisturbed ecosystems. Fermented plant juice acts as liquid vitamins for plants, packed with growth hormones and readily available nutrients extracted from young, vigorous plants. Think of it as concentrated plant energy that can be harvested from common weeds and applied directly to crops. Indigenous microorganisms represent the living foundation of soil. These indigenous microorganisms are the beneficial bacteria and fungi that naturally exist in local environments. When collected and cultivated, these microbes essentially rebuild the soil food web that industrial agriculture has disrupted. These microscopic allies break down organic matter, suppress harmful pathogens, and create the biological pathways that allow plants to communicate and share resources underground. Oriental herbal nutrient serves as nature's immune booster for plants. This herbal extract, typically made from garlic, ginger, cinnamon, and other aromatic plants, strengthens crops' natural defense systems. Instead of fighting pests and diseases with chemicals, this approach empowers plants to resist problems on their own while creating an environment that beneficial insects actually prefer. The synergistic magic: how these three work together. You know, the real transformation happens when gardeners understand that these three components don't just add to each other, they multiply each other's effects. FPJ provides the readily available nutrients that both plants and soil microorganisms need to thrive. And when IMO is applied alongside FPJ, the result isn't just feeding plants, it's feeding an entire ecosystem of beneficial microbes that will continue working long after application. This microbial community then breaks down organic matter in soil, releasing nutrients in exactly the forms and timing plants need. The result is a self-sustaining cycle where soil becomes more fertile with each season rather than depleted. Meanwhile, OHN works quietly in the background, strengthening plant cell walls and boosting natural resistance to stress, pests, and diseases. What amazes many gardeners is watching soil structure change. Within a single growing season, compacted clay can begin developing the crumbly texture of forest soil. Earthworms appear in numbers not seen in years. Water infiltration improves dramatically, and plants that once struggled in dry spells become remarkably drought-tolerant. This isn't just about nutrients, it's about rebuilding the living architecture of healthy soil. So let's talk about the practical application: creating custom blends. Honestly, the beauty of this system lies in its simplicity. For every gallon of water, you just mix 1 to 2 milliliters each of FPJ and OHN, plus 10 to 20 milliliters of IMO solution. Now, these tiny amounts might seem, well, kind of insignificant, but remember, this involves working with concentrated biological activity, not diluted chemicals. In Korean natural farming, less truly is more. Apply this mixture both as a foliar spray in the early morning and as a soil drench every couple of weeks. For seedlings, it's best to dilute it even further to a 1 to 1,000 ratio, giving young plants a gentle boost without overwhelming their delicate systems. The key here is consistency rather than intensity. Regular, gentle applications really allow soil ecosystems to develop gradually and sustainably. Timing matters significantly with these applications. Make FPJ from whatever plants are actively growing in each season, capturing the energy and hormones that correspond to current growing conditions. IMO applications are most effective in spring and fall, when soil temperatures support active microbial growth. OHN becomes particularly valuable before pest pressure typically builds, essentially immunizing plants before problems arise. The transformation, well, it starts off pretty subtly but really begins to accelerate as soil biology establishes itself. The first sign you might notice is soil that looks darker and richer, with this earthy smell that honestly reminds you of a forest floor. Within just a few weeks, gardeners often see improved water retention during dry spells and better drainage during heavy rains. These are the hallmarks of soil with proper structure. Plant health improvements, they usually follow close behind. Leaves become a deeper green and are more resilient to environmental stress. Pest problems that may have plagued gardens for years just seem to diminish as plants develop stronger natural defenses. And most remarkably, gardeners often find themselves reaching for fertilizer less and less, until at some point they realize they haven't purchased any synthetic inputs in over a year. The long-term transformation? Well, it becomes even more profound. Soil starts to teem with visible life, beneficial insects, earthworms, and those white fungal threads that show a thriving soil food web. Plants begin to self-regulate their nutrient uptake, which means you'll see fewer signs of over-fertilization or deficiency. The entire garden ecosystem honestly becomes more stable and self-sustaining. Avoiding common pitfalls really comes down to learning from experience. Through trial and, well, some error, gardeners have discovered that patience and precision actually matter a lot more than just enthusiasm. OHN is especially potent. Using too much can actually stress your plants rather than help them. It's important to strain FPJ thoroughly since plant particles can clog up spray bottles and irrigation systems. And, collecting IMO during the wrong season or from areas that are contaminated can introduce problems instead of solutions. The most important lesson folks have learned is that consistency matters way more than intensity. Regular, properly diluted applications make a lasting difference, while, sporadic heavy doses can really disrupt the delicate balance that's being established. So, think of this as conducting a biological symphony, not just mechanically fixing broken parts. Getting started on the path to soil transformation with Korean natural farming really doesn't require any special equipment or, expensive materials. You can just start by making FPJ from the most vigorous weeds growing in your area. They're already perfectly adapted to local conditions, and honestly they're free for the harvesting. Collect IMO from undisturbed forest soil near your garden, and brew OHN using common kitchen herbs and spices. Apply this trio weekly throughout one growing season and just observe the changes. It's a good idea to document what happens with photos and notes, since the transformation can be so gradual that you might not even notice it without keeping records. Most importantly, trust the process and try to resist the urge to supplement with synthetic inputs, because those can disrupt the biological systems you're building. This approach really represents more than just gardening. It's about regenerating the living systems that support all plant life. When you're working with FPJ, IMO, and ON, the goal isn't just to grow plants, it's to cultivate a thriving ecosystem that becomes more productive and resilient with each passing season. The journey from depleted soil to living soil is honestly one of the most rewarding experiences any gardener can undertake. If you're ready to transform your garden with these time-tested natural methods, go ahead and subscribe to the Living Soil Lab for detailed tutorials on making each component, and share this guide with fellow gardeners who are ready to discover what their soil can truly become.